Good morning. It's Wednesday the 6th of March, 6:40 a.m. and this is the 28th of 53 consecutive walks from the Gresford Memorial Wheel to the Miners' Rescue and back again.
Yesterday we learned that supervision of safety in the mine, particularly in the Dennis section, was inadequate. For that there can be no excuse. The vigilance necessary was absent, especially at night, and this is important. To this day, shift workers who work night shifts are 25 to 30% more at risk of injury than those who work day shifts. Night shifts can lead to chronic fatigue, irrational emotional reactions, and stress. In other words, accidents are much more likely to happen. The inquiry, having condemned levels of supervision, turned to the issue of electricity. Whilst conditions in the Gresford mine shared much in common with 19th century mining practices, some electricity was connected to the Dennis section to work the haulage engines, coal cutting machines and conveyors. The inquiry, however, revealed that some of the coal cutting machines and conveyors were not of the certified flame-proof type. Added to this, telephones were found to be neither safe nor in flame-proof casings. There were numerous occasions, as recorded in logbooks, when the pit bottom circuit breakers had been tripped. This indicates that circuits were carrying more power than they could handle, perhaps resulting in overheated wiring, melted plastic housings, and loose live wires. In a gassy pit, such as Gresford, one spark is all it might take. And then there was the issue of airways, which in the most basic of terms were passages that provided a flow of air below ground. There were two types of airway. The intake, which would carry fresh air in, and the return, which would carry used air back out. The air was generated by large industrial fans at the pithead. They were designed to dilute and remove dust and noxious gases, such as carbon monoxide, as well as regulating the temperature below. In line with the Coal Mines Act of 1911, mine managers were required to inspect the airways at least once a week, and they were required to be vigilant of such things as the rate and amount of air circulating, obstructions to the flow, and seepage, or the escape of necessary air. However, we see a trend emerging when we learn that some reports, for example of the 14th and 29th districts of the Dennis section, were missing. The inquiry stated that the size of the return airways generally was, at the date of the explosion, greater than it had been for some time in a number of districts. This, however, is just a relative measure. Witnesses stated that the return airways in some places were as small as 3 feet by 4 feet, a very small area for a main return airway. Think of a large flat screen TV and you won't be far off. In some parts, miners would have to travel on hands and knees to pass through. One witness, John Charles Williams, captain of the Fly Main Colliery No. 1 rescue teams, described the problems he faced when trying to reach the area populated by the trapped miners. The airway, he said, to it was impossible to get along. There was not room for me to turn round and get out with the apparatus on. I had to come out backwards. And whilst the inspection of airways was law, there was nothing in the Coal Mines Act of 1911 that required airways to be of any particular size. And so the list grows when considering what could have been the cause of the disaster. At this point, the inquiry has cited a lack of basic supervision, volatile electrics, the prohibited use of non-fireproof equipment, and restricted airways. Tomorrow, the list goes on. This walk was dedicated to Llewellyn Jones of Bersham Road, Llewellyn Jones of Windsor Road, Neville Jones, Richard H. Jones, and Richard J. Jones. Today's song is The Commonwealth of Toil by Matt Callahan and Yvonne Moore.